Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Team Training Tuesday, also known as Applied Neolife. And we've had a mini series since the first week of July, the first Tuesday of July, which I called Principles and Fundamentals. And this is the last one in the series, and then we'll start something fresh in August. My name is Dr. Esezana Mbasi. I am very, very excited about what we do. And I hope for those of you who are visitors and have not known what we do in Neolife, I hope this will give you some insight into why we need to take responsibility. I've been in this business for a few years, and I have enjoyed every single minute of it. I'm trained as a medical doctor. I am married. I'm a mother. I'm also a grandmother, and I'm terribly excited about what the future holds in Neolife. So the question is now, why Neolife? And for those of you who are not yet in the family, we would like to help you to connect some dots. And I've decided to tackle a big topic called autoimmune diseases, and just to get to the foundations of that. But first, I would like to introduce to you the Scientific Advisory Board, which is a board of scientists. There are more than what you see in the picture now. There are a couple more. But these are the people who research and develop everything that we have. We are, as a result, I believe, the world's leading nutrition and wellness company. And it is so exciting to know that we belong to it as a family. It's not one of those companies whom you don't even know who does what. Everything here is out in the open for us to partake of. So it was founded by Dr. Arthur First. He was a top toxicologist and pharmacologist and cancer researcher before he came across to Neolife. And he started the whole trend of teaching about prevention, including preventing cancer. But today we're going to talk about autoimmune diseases, and it's so exciting to know that a key product called carotenoid complex was commissioned because of that vexing issue of autoimmunity. Now, I'll explain what that is as time goes on. But first, thanks to Neolife, we have come to appreciate that we are made of trillions of cells, and each cell is a living unit. So on the left, you can see that the human cell looks something like that. And then inside those cells, all our cells, there are things called mitochondria. Those are the ones that actually create the energy of the cell. So we have come to appreciate that we need to be so mindful of each and every cell in our body. And disease doesn't happen when you first feel pain or when the symptoms first come. It probably starts long before that, several years before that, as the mitochondria fail. And as a result, the cells begin to fail. So with that appreciation, Neolife has taught us a few things, and I've decided to start with that, you know, to be well, we need to be mindful of what we do as regards physical activity and weight management and how we eat. Ideally, we are supposed to be eating a whole load of whole grains. But who can find whole grains today? It's very, very, very difficult to find. Because of food processing, we no longer get whole grains. Even what looks like whole grains has been processed to a degree so that it can have a long shelf life. And then, of course, we are supposed to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Nobody has the time for that. We're supposed to eat the right kind of protein. Most protein has either been factory reared or has been processed in some way. And that processing causes a lot of deterioration. And then fats and sugars are supposed to be eaten very little of. But I always put a rider there that the challenge is that even the fats that we get are not the right fats. There are some good fats that we're supposed to be getting. So the typical lifestyle pyramid looks something like that, where we hardly do any physical activity, and then we eat way too much of the wrong types of fat and sugar. And then we don't have time to chomp away at fruits and vegetables. In any case, it would really cause us to become quite broke if we spent so much time doing that. So typically, we expect to be born energetic, 100% healthy. But in my medical career that spans close to 40 years now, I have seen children born sick. And then what happens is that the trend is to slide into the tired zone where we seem to spend the majority of our life, and then eventually we become sick and are maintained on in medical ways, on medications and things like that, until eventually we demise. So the net result of that is that we lose out on a lot of quality. We might have the quantity in terms of years, but the quality of life is suboptimal. And from the age of about 20 to 50 years, actually earlier, I believe, I see teenagers and even children who are always complaining of fatigue and it is a big challenge. So the challenge actually is, as I pointed out, at a cellular level. If we can be mindful of making our cells healthy, and that entails providing whole grain oils. And you know, when I was in medical school and we were doing biochemistry, I discovered a startling thing, biochemistry and physiology, that the cell membranes are made out of the right oils that God initially put in whole grain and that we are supposed to be eating. But I've pointed out that food processing and the need to feed many, many people who live in cities and are not growing their own food has led to a challenge for all of us. So that is the solution. We need to consider this product called TreeNN, which we can only find in this company, in this family. It feeds the cells, it enhances energy, and it also improves nutrient utilization by a huge percentage at a cellular level. Isn't that exciting? So with that background, I would like to talk about autoimmune diseases. And I'm sure everybody is wondering, what are those? What are autoimmune diseases? Autoimmune conditions is when the immune system reacts to its own tissues and cells and treats them as invaders, leading to chronic inflammation and disease or dis-ease, okay? So examples, you will recognize a lot of these disease conditions: diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, thyroid disorders, inflammatory bowel disease. Last week, we talked about the bowel, the gut, and why it's important to maintain a healthy gut. The week before, before that, we talked about the heart and blood vessels, the cardiovascular system. And the week before that, we talked about arthritis, okay? So that was all in the mini series called Principles and Fundamentals. But now, inflammatory bowel disease that we discussed last week presents as, it may present as celiac disease. That's a diagnosis that can be given, which is specifically chronic inflammatory disorder that is due to wheat allergy or sensitivity. Now, wheat is very, very commonly eaten around the world. And this is as a result of sensitivity or allergy to a protein that is found in wheat called gluten. It's actually found in a lot of grains. So gluten is not a single thing, it is glutens, many types. But the one that is found in wheat is particularly notorious, and I'm going to show you a bit more information on it. And then another type of, other types of autoimmune disorders can manifest as liver and kidney problems. And then one that some people have seen, when people lose pigmentation, usually in patches on their body. That's what we call vitiligo, okay? But the long and short of it is that there are hundreds of autoimmune diseases. So my title, as I sent out the flyer, was connecting the dots and closing the loop. And it's an attempt to understand autoimmune diseases. Let us carry on to try and understand them and ask the question, what triggers autoimmune disease or disorders? It could be toxins, it could be infections, such as bacteria and all those infecting organisms. It could be infestations. We've seen when we discuss the gut that infestations by worms or parasites can be quite a challenge. And then allergens. Here comes that word again, gluten, which is protein found in grains. And I've pointed out, wheat gluten is the most notorious. It could be dairy, it could be eggs, it could be nuts. It depends on individual sensitivity. We are all uniquely different, and it also occurs on a spectrum, like most conditions in life occur over a wide spectrum. And it could be as a result of malnutrition, poor diet. And then, of course, stress is always something that we have to mention. So an example, rheumatoid arthritis, has been shown to be associated with allergic responses to food and infections and autoimmunity when the body's immune system turns on itself. It usually affects several joints, and it's accompanied by fatigue and sickness. Now, a lot of people might feel joint pains, fatigue, sickness, but they won't immediately think of, oh my gosh, this could be an autoimmune condition happening here. Common triggers, those are they. One of the big ones is hormone imbalances. Another big one is high blood sugar. Now, how would that happen? Is a good question. Low-grade viral infections, heavy metal poisonings, all those can trigger it. And it's also often associated, in the case we're talking about rheumatoid arthritis as one of the autoimmune conditions, with non-specific joint and muscle aches and pains, but that could be as a result of a nutritional deficiency, vitamin D specifically. Okay, so there is a lot to consider. There is never just one thing. And that, I think, is part of the way I want us to connect dots and close the loop by understanding just that one fact, that it is never one thing. It is uniquely different in every individual, and it can be triggered by common things. So when we ask ourselves, really, does food really matter? Oh, yes. We know now that too much meat in the diet can be associated with all sorts of diseases. I've just picked out a few ideas, such as osteoporosis, such as heart disease that we have covered, such as cancers. Some people actually consider many forms of cancer to be a form of autoimmunity. And then we know that eating a largely plant-based diet can be protective, but in this modern day and age of chemical inputs into our agriculture, that might also be a trigger. The various fertilizers and the way the soils have gone. So my take on everything is that each and every one of us has to become super sensitive and very good at listening to what the body is saying to you. So listen to your body. I like to say, a bit tongue-in-cheek, please stop outsourcing your health. Now, coming from a medically trained individual such as myself, you might think that that is not the right thing to say. What do you mean I shouldn't outsource my health to you? You are trained and paid to keep me healthy. Oh, well, you know, times have changed. We now have to actually take greater responsibility on an individual level. So we've discussed the gut, but I'll just summarize it quickly. It is very, very important to maintain balance in the gut, because the gut is the home of trillions of bacteria. There are more bacteria in your gut than there are cells that make you up, okay? So we call it the gut microbiome. It's very, very important, those gut bacteria, because they help us to digest food, to produce certain vitamins, such as vitamin K, which is important, and some B vitamins. They also educate the immune system by making short-chain fatty acids that feed the gut cells. And if you can picture this, the gut is responsible for keeping you alive because it is where food is absorbed so that you can remain healthy. And it also, those fatty acids protect us from autoimmune diseases. And that's how come they're very important in the immune system. So it has to remain alert. It has to protect us. It has to recognize, the immune system generally has to recognize invaders and differentiate them from the body's own tissue and organs. So very crucial, very, very important. And that's why we are closing the loop now, because unfortunately, modern society is such that we eat a lot of things that we never were eating several years ago, our forefathers, and as recently, maybe as 50 years ago. We're not eating as many antibiotics because we now get antibiotics in our food, okay? We get preservatives, we get medications because we are busy treating symptoms, such as painkillers and other toxins or other medications that could be toxic. So the point of all this is to say, how do autoimmune diseases even happen? Well, we might be responsible to some extent by disturbing the gut, by disturbing the cells, by not knowing how to create resilience. And resilience is the topic that we covered when we covered the cardiovascular system. So here are some suggestions. Avoid glutens and other allergy or sensitivity causing foods. And you ask yourself, but we've been eating bread and other grain for millennia. True. Absolutely, absolutely true. I totally agree. What's changed is what we're going to cover shortly. And then avoid refined sugars. Eliminate triggers that may cause estrogen dominance. And you ask yourself, what might that be? Well, there are lots of triggers in our environment. It isn't the same as it used to be. For example, day-to-day things that we use, detergents, all might trigger estrogen dominance, and that is hormonal imbalance at its best. Supports the immune and hormonal systems. That's all part of connecting those dots. And then it is crucial to supplement with things that you are not getting enough of, such as omega-3 fatty acids, because those will keep inflammation down, as you will see soon. Antioxidants. Unless you have the time to really sit down and eat 15 different fruits and vegetables on a daily basis, and you are sure that they've been grown properly and they haven't been sprayed with all sorts of things, well, supplementation might be called for. So those are just some suggestions. But now, this is the news that you can use. 8 reasons to avoid wheat. Again, I can hear people saying, what does this woman think we are going to be eating? Well, I've got a first-hand experience, but let me go through these 8 reasons. It is known, unfortunately, that autoimmune disorders occur 10 times more commonly in people with celiac disease. I described celiac disease as that inflammatory bowel condition that occurs when people are sensitive or allergic to gluten that is found in wheat. Okay, the wheat gluten seems to be the most notorious. Now, celiac disease might not affect everybody, but the challenge is millions of people are affected and they don't know it. And then they continue to eat the wheat. And then they wonder why they're not feeling well. Okay, here are the 8 reasons. Modern wheat strains are often crossbred with toxic chemicals. The growing process is such that they are crossbred with toxic chemicals. And then wheat is often doused in pesticides from seed to storage. I know that for a fact. There was once a patient who came with a loss of sensation in his legs to a clinic that I was running. And then when I asked him, I asked a story, and he told me he works at the harbor, and each time a consignment of grain comes in, rice from overseas, they have to spray it with a lot of stuff. From that day on, I started washing my rice. And then high heat drying destroys nutritional value of the wheat. Celiac disease and gluten sensitivity, many are unaware that gluten is a problem. Reason number 5, wheat is addictive. Trust me on that one. Wheat is addictive. Gluten is actually a combination of glutenin and gliadin. And gliadin has opiate-like effects. So if you've ever wondered why people can't get off the bread and the cakes and all those things, it's because of that property. And then it may have neurotoxic properties. In other words, it may be toxic to nerve tissue, and it may cause peripheral neuropathy. Now, a lot of times people ask, what can we give for somebody who has loss of sensation or pins and needles in their feet? But until they realize that it might be the gluten or all the wheat products may be the cause of it. Until they remove the cause, we can give them everything in the catalog. The cause remains, and that's what has to be addressed first. Okay, and then wheat is known to spike blood sugar, leading to weight gain, and also leading to ultimately pre-diabetes and diabetes. A topic that we've discussed on several occasions, but I'm sure we can discuss it in the near future, as we have done very recently, as this morning. And then disease promoting chronic inflammation in the gut will lead to the gut being leaky, allowing all sorts of particles into the bloodstream. Now, have I frightened you of eating wheat? I don't know, but I want to show you this picture. And at the base of it, it says gluten sensitivity is a systemic beast in our healthcare system, because look at the number of things that have been linked to it. Brain fog, anemia, depression, leg numbness, joint pains, muscle pain, headaches, eczema, skin rashes, fatigue, bloating, abdominal pain, constipation, diarrhea, psoriasis, oral ulcers, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, increased aging, okay, or accelerating aging, as also increased in the elderly, schizophrenia, multiple myeloma, all those conditions, undiagnosed neurological disease. And then you might have alcoholic liver cirrhosis and other problems with the liver. And then I pointed out that one manifestation of autoimmunity actually could be malignancies. We are dealing with a huge topic called autoimmune disorders, but it all might link back to the fact that people are wheat gluten sensitive. Am I saying perhaps we need to rethink a few things? Yeah, well, that is for each one to decide. But now, a lot of times we are faced with this question: do we really have to supplement our normal diet? You are expecting me to pay money for all those things, but I can't afford it. I just need to tell you my experience, because I speak from experience. You know, when I began to listen to the messages that my body was giving me, and I decided to eliminate wheat products. This is going back maybe 5 years ago that I made that decision. I decided I'm not going to eat bread and cakes and biscuits. Sometimes when I do, my body reminds me that, hey, you're not supposed to be touching those things. You know, and an amazing thing happened. My body trusted me enough to let go of all the inflammation I was carrying around. I've actually got evidence in the form of little videos of before and now, what I am now, given the fact that I'm actually a little older than I was then. But I had battled with managing my weight. I had aches and pains in my joints, and all those things, slowly but surely, when I made the decision, and that's why I say I speak from experience, all those things began to change, because my body didn't need to feel defensive against something that was causing the inflammation. So that's my story as regards this one. I used to get serious pins and needles at night in my feet that would keep me awake. And each time I taste a little bit of a baked good, yeah, okay, we get tempted. I get tempted sometimes. My feet will start feeling those pins and needles again. So last week I mentioned the way the body becomes intelligent. I think each one of you can try it out for yourselves. But in the meantime, we need to try our level best to eat as properly as possible. So we need to eat well, eat real food. We mustn't overeat. But in all these foods, one cannot find the grain oil concentrates. And that's where I want to talk a little bit about why we need the various things that we have as supplements. Okay, let's talk about inflammation. Inflammation is a process that is necessary. I won't say it is bad, but it is a necessary process. The only challenge is if it carries on for too long and is not switched off by the body's system. There's a way the body knows how to switch off to say, okay, fine, you've done your job, inflammation, thank you very much. Now it is time to stop. Autoimmunity is possibly a defective off switch, if I can put it that way. So the body responds to infection and inflammation. It is nature's way of limiting damage from bacteria and allergens. But now, modern society is such that, and the profession I belong to, gives anti-inflammatory medications, okay? And the effect of that is when any such medicine removes the inflammatory barrier around the source of inflammation, it's really like removing the coolant from a nuclear power station, and eventually there will be total meltdown. In other words, inflammation is nature's way of holding the reaction in check. It happens to be painful, yeah, but it is the only way to stop the spread of the source of inflammation, okay? So what we have in this family are food that were created to manage that inflammation and to create resilience by strengthening the immune system. Things like fish oil, grain and legume oil that we have in a product that I'm going to explain and describe to the visitors. All the family members know it well. Those can perform the twofold function of simultaneously acting as natural anti-inflammatory substances and enhancing the immune system. We also get antioxidants that will protect those oils and legume, the fish and legume oils, and boost immunity. On the contrary, all those other medications actually have a tendency to suppress immune function. So I just wanted to contrast that and now introduce to you why it is important to have grain oils. After spending time telling you that wheat and rice and all those other grain might not be a good idea anymore, particularly wheat, we have this product that they have ensured that they get just the oil from wheat, rice, and soy, encapsulated in an oxygen-free environment, so that, yes, we stop all those things that will cause the inflammation, but still benefit from what was intended in the first place. And that is this product. Because Trianen promises that with the right nutrition, your cells can perform their very best for your well-being and vitality, okay? And it also helps to balance hormones because of the lipids and sterols that your cells require. It's a very important product. And if you're stressing about how will I stop eating bread, well, I managed to stop eating bread because I was confident that I would get the most important part out of the grain, which I wasn't getting in any case from the ordinary bread. So I don't miss the bread, but I'm happy that I can get something that helps my health. And then we have core nutrition. And in that core nutrition, we have all the 22 amino acids, and we have all the other nutrients that we need. Here is threonine again. We have the fish oil, we have the antioxidants from fruits and vegetables, and we have the minerals and vitamins. And then importantly, nutrient synergy is so important for best results. I've just shown here, vitamin C works very, very well with flavonoid complex, which is an antioxidant from fruits and vegetables. And vitamin C is so crucial for our health and our immune system. Minerals, very important. If you want to create balance and resilience, you need minerals. This is just an example, but the double amino chelation, that is the pioneering work of Dr. Arthur First, ensures that it is absorbed far better than one that is non-chelated. So this is a good reason to use this brand. And the absorption is amazing. It is less irritating to the stomach, and it gets to work quickly because it is dissolved and it's dispersed quickly. Then we have some leading edge products. We've mentioned that high blood sugar is one of the triggers for autoimmune diseases. We see that there are many, many people who have been challenged by and continue to be challenged by diabetes. And in the past, we've discussed that the problem is not so much the high blood sugar as it is the insulin resistance of the cells to insulin. So we have things to help there. We have things for energy. This helps with mitochondrial energy. We also have things for the little ones, yeah? And this, for me, is really the cherry on top of everything that we do in this family, because the emphasis is to start early and to start looking after our little ones early and not to wait until they become sick and then we panic, okay? So it is important to note that there are no artificial colors or flavors or sweeteners or preservatives. And I've pointed out that preservatives might have a triggering effect for autoimmunity because they have damage, they cause damage to the gut. So no artificial anything, no gluten. I've taken a knock today on gluten, and no gluten in our products. Now, very quickly as we close, why should we care that we use specific products? This is my basket of products that do all my cleaning. I have a few extra ones, such as the polishers and other things, but this oxygen bleach and carpet glow. But in this basket, any home can maintain a good, clean, toxic-free environment just with these 4 products. And they last long because these are concentrates. You add your own water. You're not dumping plastic into the environment every single month or every 3 weeks. So please choose the best for your home. And as you can see, we have cleaning, we have a non-toxic or 100% organic skincare range that you will learn a bit more about if you're a guest. And we have nutrition supplements as well. As we end our mini-series, Principles and Fundamentals, I'd like to urge everyone on the call to make your life your lifestyle. It isn't just a business. Make it your lifestyle, because our vision is to make the world a healthier and happier place. And turn to the person who invited you. Ask all the questions. Why Near Life? Okay? And I hope I have helped to connect the dots and to close the loop on why Near Life. Thank you so much for being here. I will stop recording.